I have to admit, I have to cringe pretty hard, honestly, at the breathtaking incompetence of a lot of the people of the IT community. I don't mean to say this to offend anybody or to hurt feelings. If I'm pointing out your incompetence, it has little to nothing to do with wanting to hurt you. I really don't care if what I have to say hurts you or it makes you smile in this case. I'm indifferent. My intention here is not to offend you, it's merely to call attention to a truth. That's it. The Dunning Kruger effect that you operate under, and the false premise of your own competence is rather breathtaking. When I get into these debates with people in the IT community, often what I will get in is against I will be butting up against the head of an individual that fundamentally does not seem to be able to grasp at the most fundamental level that who I am, my behavior, and my conduct are not relevant at all to the truth that undergirds my claim. If I call Mac OS and iOS malware, the only thing that's relevant is whether they spy on their users without their consent or not. It doesn't matter if my actions are inconsistent with what I'm saying because I'm saying it on Facebook. It doesn't matter if I'm hypocritical. And it doesn't matter for the exact same reason that, we wouldn't say that smoking is good for you just because a person smokes 6 packs a day, even though they're telling you that it's bad for you. Don't copy them. They're just an addict that's addicted to, cigarette smoking. You know, it does like I don't understand why you can't see this. I use Facebook even though I'm in an abusive relationship with the platform. I acknowledge that I'm in an abusive relationship with the platform and I won't stop using it because the network effect overcomes my objections to the platform. It's of enough value to me ultimately to be rather inconsistent with my desire for privacy in using it, but it doesn't matter that you can't prove that I'm not really concerned about privacy just because I happen to use Facebook. It doesn't actually prove shit. I use Facebook and I know that they're terrible for my privacy. I don't like the fact that they're terrible for my privacy, and I don't need to quit. I shouldn't have to not use the platform in order to qualify as somebody that's concerned about the fact that it's spying on us without our authorization or consent. You know, the fact is that I find all of this very cringe inducing because there's a form for the fallacy that's at hand in many of these critics that I attract in calling the platform, what out for what it really is, which is to say that instead of actually addressing the logic that I use, instead of actually addressing the fact that this operating system does in fact spy on its users without their consent, you know, instead of offering any sort of rebuttal of Jeffrey Paul, and his article about the fact that the operating system spies on its users without their consent and it tracks them without them letting the operating system do this, without them opting into being tracked at all. In spite of all that, like if you don't have a rebuttal to that art to that, then you don't have anything that even approaches being relevant in this, debate that you found yourself in. See, I may have come to Facebook to tell you these things. I may be using Facebook to tell you these things, but my hypocrisy in that doesn't actually matter at all. Not even a little bit. It's not relevant to the truth of the claim that Mac OS and that I define an application or an operating system that tracks or spies on its users without their authorization or consent as malware. It doesn't matter that it's an operating system. It doesn't matter how featured that malware actually is. If it does this thing, then only one conclusion remains, which is that it's malware. Now, I may be behaving inconsistently with somebody that wants greater privacy. A real privacy activist may or may not use Facebook, but that doesn't actually matter. I have every right to use Facebook while simultaneously being concerned about my privacy, and it doesn't matter that my actions are inconsistent with what I'm saying and my concerns. It's not relevant to the truth of my claim. And if I suspect you of breathtaking incompetence, it's because evidently you have never been part of a formal or academic debate club. This has always been an interest and hobby of mine. The fallacy is the ad hominem fallacy. See, to the intellectuals of the debate club, to make any sort of appeal to the conduct, to the behavior, to the character, or who a person is fundamentally off limits as far as the debate is concerned. You have to limit your response to their underlying logic. So how I'm behaving doesn't actually matter to whether my claim happens to be true or not. The truth of the matter is that the operating system spies on its users without their consent. That's an established truth, and therefore it is both accurate and fair to call the operating system malware. Don't bring me up. Do not make any sort of counter argument or rebuttal at all that talks about who I am, whether my behavior is consistent with my concerns, or whether I'm doing everything right or not. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is whether that operating system happens to be malware or not. If you can't debunk Jeffrey Paul, then you don't have anything at all. Everything that you could possibly say is inherently fallacious and invalid.